Two guests, one couch, and a confrontation that made 5 professional hosts completely helpless. The booking seemed brilliant. Prince Harry promoting his foundation work, Ricky Gervais promoting his new stand-up special. 2 British exports, 2 massive personalities, 1 legendary daytime couch. What happened next unfolded so quickly that nobody could stop it. Harry fired back. Ricky deflected with another joke. Harry escalated. Because Prince Harry had decided that Ricky Gervais was the enemy. And Ricky Gervais, 5-time Golden Globes host, master of the celebrity takedown, the man who'd roasted Hollywood's elite to their faces, was not about to let a prince win. By minute 15, the panel had given up trying to moderate. By minute 18, Harry said something that made the audience gasp. And by minute 21, when Harry finally stood up to leave, Ricky's parting words followed him all the way to the door. You need to see this one. Subscribe now, turn on that notification bell, and let's get into it. The View studio was buzzing with unusual energy. 2 major guests sharing the couch was always electric, but today felt different. The producers had debated the pairing extensively, Harry's earnest intensity against Ricky's irreverent wit. It could be magic, it could be disaster. Harry arrived first, settling onto the chair with his usual controlled composure. He shook hands with the hosts, made small talk, projected warmth that seemed slightly rehearsed. Ricky arrived 10 minutes later, bounding onto the set with the chaotic energy that defined him. He hugged Whoopi theatrically, blew kisses to the audience, then plopped down next to Harry with zero ceremony. "Your Highness," he said, with a mock bow that was clearly ironic. Harry's smile tightened. "Ricky. Still a prince, then? Haven't given that up yet?" "I've given up the working royal role. The title remains." "Ah, so you've got the brand without the job. Like being CEO emeritus. All the LinkedIn credibility, none of the meetings." The audience laughed. Harry didn't. "Let's start with what you're both working on," Whoopi began, sensing the tension immediately. "Harry, the foundation. Tell us about Arkawell." "We're focused on creating systemic change through strategic partnerships, mental health awareness, veteran support, community building." "Lovely stuff," Ricky interjected. "Very noble. Though I notice systemic change is one of those phrases that sounds impressive, but could mean literally anything. What systems are we changing specifically?" Harry turned to face him. "Systems of inequity. Systems that perpetuate suffering." Right. And how's that going? The perpetuated suffering? Has it decreased measurably since you started perpetuating awareness of it?" Joy coughed slightly, suppressing a laugh. "Impact takes time," Harry said stiffly. "Does it? Because I've seen charities that deliver food to hungry people, and you can count the meals. Very simple. Your charity seems more conceptual. We work on root causes rather than symptoms. The root cause of hunger is lack of food. That's not terribly mysterious. But I suppose flying to conferences about root causes is more interesting than packing sandwiches." Harry's expression had hardened visibly. "What exactly are you implying?" "Nothing. I'm just asking questions. You know, like a journalist. Except I'm funnier and I don't pretend to be objective." "You're suggesting our work isn't genuine." "I'm suggesting your work is very well publicized. Whether it's genuine is something only you know. And possibly your accountant." Whoopi stepped in. "Ricky, maybe let's talk about your special—" No, Harry interrupted. I'd like him to finish his thought. "You've made a career of tearing people down. Is that what this is?" Ricky's smile didn't falter. "I've made a career of pointing out absurdity. And there's something absurd about a man who lives in a 16-bathroom mansion lecturing people about inequity. You've got more bathrooms than most families have rooms. The cognitive dissonance is remarkable. My personal circumstances don't invalidate my advocacy." "They don't invalidate it. They just make it funny. Like a diet guru eating a Big Mac. The message isn't wrong. It's just hilarious coming from that particular messenger." The audience laughed again. Harry's face had gone red. "You've spent years mocking people like me. Harry said. People trying to make a difference. I've spent years mocking hypocrisy. If you feel included in that, that's interesting. You don't know anything about my life. I know what you've shown me, which is extensive, by the way. Netflix documentary, book, Oprah interview. You're not exactly mysterious. You've commodified your trauma more thoroughly than anyone I've ever seen. I've shared my truth. You've sold your truth. There's a difference. Sharing is what you do with friends over drinks. Selling is what you do with Netflix for $100 million. Sonny tried to intervene. I think there's value in public figures sharing their struggles. There absolutely is, Ricky agreed. But let's not pretend it's purely altruistic when there's a massive check attached. Nobody's confused about the business model here. Harry stood up slightly, then sat back down. You're reducing something meaningful to money. I'm acknowledging that money is involved. You're the one pretending it isn't. That's the difference between us. I admit I do comedy for money. You pretend your commercial ventures are humanitarian missions. Let's talk about something else, Joy said quickly. Ricky, your new special. Happy to, Ricky said. It's called Entitled, about people who think the rules don't apply to them. Oddly timely. Harry's jaw tightened. Is that aimed at me? It's aimed at everyone. Though if the crown fits, I don't wear a crown. Metaphorically, mate, you absolutely do. You've built an entire brand around being treated unfairly despite being one of the most privileged humans on the planet. That's a kind of entitlement. I've experienced genuine hardship. Have you? Your mother died tragically, and that's real grief. I'd never mock that. But everything else? You grew up in palaces. You had the best education money could buy. You married a beautiful actress. You live in Montecito. The hardship seems to be people asking questions you don't want to answer. Sarah attempted intervention. Trauma isn't measured by material circumstances. No, but perspective helps. When a refugee talks about hardship, I listen differently than when a prince complains about tabloid coverage from his mansion. Context matters. You don't understand media persecution, Harry said, his voice rising. I've been in the tabloids for 30 years. I've been called every name imaginable. I've had protesters outside my shows. The difference is I find it funny rather than constituting a human rights violation. It's different for Meghan. Meghan, the American actress who married a prince and then complained about the attention. Look, I'm sure some coverage was unfair. Some coverage is always unfair. But she married into the most scrutinized family on earth and then seemed surprised by scrutiny. That's not persecution. That's poor planning. You're dismissing racism. I'm not dismissing anything. I'm saying that scrutiny isn't automatically racism, and you can't play that card every time someone asks a difficult question. It cheapens actual racism. Whoopi stepped in firmly. We need to be careful here. We're being careful, Ricky said. I'm being very precise. The accusation of racism was made on television. No evidence was provided, no names were named. The entire royal family got smeared by implication. That's either a serious allegation that deserves clarity, or it's a strategic move that deserves examination. Either way, questions are legitimate. Harry was breathing heavily now. You've always had a problem with me. I don't have a problem with you. I don't know you. I have observations about your public behavior, which is fair game because you've made it public. Extremely public. Repeatedly public. You made jokes about me at the Golden Globes. I made jokes about everyone at the Golden Globes. That's literally the job. Leonardo DiCaprio got roasted. Tom Hanks got roasted. The Hollywood Foreign Press got roasted. You're not special. I never asked for the attention. Ricky actually laughed out loud. You signed a Netflix deal. You did an Oprah interview watched by 50 million people. You wrote a memoir detailing your drug use and your brother's bald spot. In what universe does that constitute not asking for attention? That was truth-telling. That was content creation. Very lucrative content creation. And there's nothing wrong with that. I create content for money too. But I don't pretend I'm on a humanitarian mission when I do it. Joy tried one more time. Can we find some common ground here? You're both British, both famous, both dealing with public scrutiny. The difference, Ricky said, is that I own what I am. I'm a comedian. I make jokes. Some people love them, some people hate them. I don't claim moral superiority. Harry claims to be on a mission to improve humanity while cashing checks and complaining about critics. Pick a lane. My lane is clear. Is it? Because from outside, it looks like victimhood monetization, which, again, is a valid business model. Just don't expect me to bow when you walk in the room. Harry leaned forward aggressively. You bow to no one because you respect no one. I respect plenty of people. I respect nurses working night shifts. I respect teachers in underfunded schools. I respect people doing actual hard work for minimal recognition. What I don't respect is the expectation of deference from someone who was born into privilege and acts like being criticized is the same as being oppressed. I've earned my position. Have you? What exactly have you earned? You were literally born a prince. The position came with the placenta. The audience gasped. Joy covered her mouth. Even Whoopi looked stunned. That's out of line, Harry said, standing up fully. Is it? I'm asking a genuine question. What position have you earned versus inherited? Your military service? Genuine respect there. But the foundation? The platform? The ability to sign Netflix deals? That came from being born into a specific family. You didn't build that. I've built a new life. Funded by old privilege. You'd be nobody if you weren't royal. You know it, I know it, everyone watching knows it. The only question is whether you're honest enough to admit it. Harry's hands were shaking. You're a bitter man attacking people more successful than yourself. Ricky grinned. More successful? Mate, I've won 7 Golden Globes. I've created multiple hit television series. I sold out arenas worldwide. I did that from nothing. No palaces, no titles, no inherited wealth. You were born on third base, and you act like you hit a triple. At least I try to help people. Do you? Name one person whose life is measurably better because of Archwell. Not aware of issues. Actually better. One name. One story. Silence. The silence is your answer. You've built an organization that produces awareness, which is just noise dressed up as virtue. Whoopi stood up partially. Okay, we really need to. I'm not finished, Harry said, turning back to Ricky. You've spent decades punching down at vulnerable people. Punching down? At you? You're a literal prince. There's no down to punch. At people who can't defend themselves. I've made fun of powerful people exclusively. Politicians, celebrities, tech billionaires, you. That's punching up. Punching down would be mocking actual vulnerable people, which I don't do. Your comedy causes harm. My comedy causes laughter. If you're harmed by jokes, you're too fragile for public life. And yet you keep choosing public life. You keep signing deals, you keep doing interviews, you keep inviting scrutiny, and then complaining when it arrives. Harry grabbed his jacket from beside the couch. I won't sit here and be disrespected. Then leave. But know that leaving proves my point. You can't handle a comedian making observations about your public behavior. How will you handle actual criticism? Harry moved toward the exit, then turned back. You're cruel. I'm honest. There's a difference. Cruelty is lying to make someone feel bad. Honesty is telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Everything I've said is verifiable. You live in a mansion, you've monetized your trauma, your foundation's impact is unclear. Those are facts. How you feel about them is your business. The world will see you for what you are. The world has seen me for 30 years. I'm exactly what I appear to be, A bloke from Reading who tells jokes and doesn't pretend to be better than anyone else. Can you say the same? Harry left. The studio door closed behind him. The panel sat in stunned silence. Ricky reached for the water glass in front of him, took a sip, and shrugged. Well, that went well. Whoopi turned to face the camera, her expression mixing shock and professionalism. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll process what just happened. During the commercial break, the panel surrounded Ricky with a mixture of horror and admiration. That was brutal, Joy said. It was accurate, Ricky replied. I didn't say anything untrue. But on live television? Where else? He's got Netflix and Oprah and every platform he wants. Someone has to say the obvious stuff. Sunny shook her head. He's going to be furious. He was already furious. He walked in ready for a fight. I just gave him one he couldn't win. When they returned from break, Whoopi addressed the audience directly. We've just witnessed something unusual. A guest walked off during a disagreement with another guest. We want to be clear that The View is a place for robust debate, but we also believe in civil discourse. Ricky raised his hand. Can I just say, I was civil. Sarcastic, yes. Pointed, absolutely. But I didn't call him names. I didn't insult his family. I asked questions about his public behavior and made observations about contradictions. That's not uncivil. That's just uncomfortable for people who aren't used to being questioned. Walk us through what happened from your perspective, Joy said. Ricky leaned back. He came in defensive. I don't know why. Maybe he read something I said years ago. Maybe he just doesn't like comedians. But from the first moment, he was treating me like an enemy. You did make some pointed observations. I made accurate observations. His foundation's impact is vague. His lifestyle contradicts his messaging. His public revelations have been commercially motivated. None of that is controversial. It's all documented. Sunny leaned in. But the delivery was comedic. That's what I do. I find the absurd angle and I articulate it. The absurd angle here is a prince complaining about privilege while living in a mansion and signing $100 million deals. That's comedy gold. I'd be failing my craft if I didn't point it out. Sarah tried a different angle. Do you think you worked too hard on him? I think I was exactly as hard as anyone should be on public figures who make their lives content. He's not a private citizen being ambushed. He's a professional public figure with media training and a PR team. He should be able to handle a comedian making jokes. Ricky addressed the camera directly. Harry, if you're watching, and I suspect you will be, here's what I genuinely think. You've had genuine pain in your life. Losing your mother young, navigating a weird institution, media scrutiny that sometimes went too far. I'm not dismissing any of that. He paused. But you've also had enormous privilege, wealth, status, opportunity, access. And somewhere along the way, you started treating criticism as persecution and questions as attacks. That's not healthy. That's not strong. That's fragile. The strongest people I know can laugh at themselves. They can acknowledge their contradictions. They can hear uncomfortable truths without fleeing the room. You couldn't do any of that today. And that's not my failure. It's yours. Ricky spread his hands. I'm a comedian from a working-class background who's made a career of not taking anything too seriously, including myself. You're a prince who's made a career of taking everything extremely seriously, especially yourself. One of us is happier. I'll let the audience guess which. For Ricky Gervais, the confrontation became another chapter in his legendary career of celebrity takedowns, proof that his ability to puncture pretension remained razor sharp. For Prince Harry, it was a disaster. He'd walked into battle against a professional combatant and lost spectacularly. Every deflection had been countered. Every claim had been questioned. Every attempt at indignation had been diffused with humor. But for the millions who watched, something else emerged. The contrast between the two men was stark. One who'd achieved everything through talent and work, comfortable enough to laugh at himself. Another who'd been born into everything, unable to tolerate even gentle mockery. Ricky had asked the questions everyone was thinking. Harry had answered them by fleeing. And in that flight, in that inability to engage with a comedian's observations, everything anyone needed to know about the gap between Harry's self-image and his actual resilience became visible. Some confrontations reveal strength, others expose its absence. This one made clear that between the prince and the comedian, only one of them had actually earned their confidence, and it wasn't the one with the title. The prince versus the comedian. It wasn't even close. What do you think? If you want more moments like this, *subscribe, this is where the real stories land. *drop a like, it makes a difference. *share this, someone needs to see what happened. More confrontations, more truth, more of what everyone else is afraid to show. Stay with us.